ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। अष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। मम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिनि। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणि निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणि। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। 326:53 हिरण्मयादण्डकोशादुत्थाय सलिलेशयात् तम्मा विश्वमहादेवो बहुधा निर्विभेदकम्. Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Virat Purusha, situated himself in that golden egg which was lying on the water, and he divided it into many departments. निरभिद्यतास्य प्रथमं मुखं वाणी ततो भवत् वाण्या वह्निरतो नाशे प्राणो तो घ्राणयेतयोः. First of all, mouth appeared in him, and then came forth the organ of speech, and with it the god of fire, the deity who presides over that organ. Then a pair of nostrils appeared, and in them appeared the olfactory sense, as well as prana, the vital air. Manifestation of speech, fire also became manifested. Manifestation of nostrils, vital air, breathing process, and sense of smell also became manifested. It's just how the Virat Purusha is appearing. घ्राणाद्वायुरभिद्येताम् अक्षिणी चक्षुरेतयोः तस्मात् सूर्योऽन्यभिद्येताम् कर्णौ श्रोत्रम् ततो दिशः. In the wake of the olfactory sense came the wind god who resides over that sense. Thereafter a pair of eyes appeared in the universal form, and in them the sense of sight. In the wake of this sense came the sun god who presides over it. Next there appeared in him a pair of ears, and in them the auditory sense, and in its wake the Devatas, or the deities who preside over the directions. So the appearance of different bodily parts of the Lord's universal form and the appearance of the presiding deities of those bodily parts is being described. As in the womb of a mother, a child gradually develops different bodily parts. So in the universal womb of the universal form, the Lord gives rise to the creation of various paraphernalia. The senses appear, and over each of them there is a presiding deity. It is corroborated by the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam and also by Brahma Samhita, that the sun appeared after the appearance of the eyes of the universal form of the Lord. The sun is dependent on the eyes of the universal form. The Brahma Samhita also says that the sun is the eye of the Supreme Person of Godhead Krishna. Chakshuresha Savita Sakala Grahanam. Savita means sun. The sun is the eye of the Supreme Person of Godhead. Actually, everything is created by the universal body of the Supreme Godhead. Material nature is simply the supplier of materials. Hmm. Actually, everything is created by the universal body, saying, and material nature is simply the supplier of materials. The creation is actually done by the Supreme Lord. Maya Dakshana Prakriti Suvete Sacharacharam. Okay, under my direction, does material nature create all moving and non-moving objects. Nirbibheda virajastvag romasma smashrav smashrav adyastataha tato oshadayas chasan shishnam nirbibhide tataha. In the universal form, the Virat Purusha manifested skin, thereupon the hair, mustache, and beard appeared. After this, all the herbs and drugs became manifested, and then his genitals also appeared. Skin is the site of touch sensation. The demigods who control the production of herbs and medicinal drugs are the deities presiding over the tactile sense. Retas tasmadapada asan nirabityata vaikudam gudam gudad apanopanacha mrityurloka bhayankaraha. After this semen, the faculty of procreation, and the god who presides over the waters appeared. Next appeared an anus, and then the organs of defecation, and thereupon the god of death, Mitra, who is feared throughout the universe. It is understood here with that the faculty to discharge semen is the cause of death. Therefore, yogis and transcendentalists who want to live for a greater spans of life voluntarily restrain themselves from discharging semen. The more one can restrain the discharge of semen, the more one can be aloof from the problem of death. There are many yogis living up to 300 or 700 years by this process. And in the Bhagavatam, it is clearly stated that discharging semen is the cause of horrible death. The more one is addicted to sexual enjoyment, the more susceptible he is to quick death. हस्तौ च निरभिद्येताम् बलं ताभ्यां ततः स्वराट् पादौ च निरभिद्येताम् प्रतिस्ताभ्यां ततो हरिः. Thereafter the two hands of the Lord became manifested, and with them the power of grasping and dropping things. And after that Lord Indra appeared. Next the legs became manifested. Then the process of movement and the Lord Vishnu. And after that Lord Vishnu appeared. So this Lord Vishnu is different. The presiding deity presiding over the hands is Indra, and the presiding deity of movement is the supreme person regarded Vishnu. And Vishnu appeared on the appearance of the legs of Virat Purusha. Nadyosya Shya Sya Nirabidyanta Tabhyo Lohitam Abhritam Nadyastatas Samabhavan Udaram Nirabhibyata. The veins of the universal body became manifested, therefore thereafter the red corpuscles of blood. In their wake came the rivers, the deities presiding over the veins, and then appeared an abdomen. Blood veins are compared to rivers. When the veins are manifested in the universal form, the rivers in the various planets are also manifested. The controlling deity of the rivers is also the controlling deity of the nervous system. In Ayurvedic treatment, those who are suffering from the disease of nervous instability are recommended to take a bath in dipping into a flowing river. There's a lot of deep connections like between Ayurveda and creation. Pipaसे tatasyatam samudrastva etayorabhut athasya hridayam भिन्नम hridayanmana uttitam. Next grew feelings of hunger and thirst, and in their wake came the manifestation of oceans. Then a heart became manifest, and in the wake of the heart the mind appeared. The ocean is considered to be the preceding deity of the abdomen, where the feelings of hunger and thirst originate. When there is irregularity in hunger and thirst, one is advised to take bath in the ocean. Okay. मनसश्चन्द्रमा जातो बुद्धिर्बुद्धेर्गिरां पतिः अहङ्कारस्ततो रुद्रश्चित्तं चैत्यस्ततो भवत्. After the mind, the moon appeared. Intelligence appeared next. And after intelligence, Lord Brahma appeared. Then the false ego appeared. And then Lord Shiva. This false ego is created by Brahma. And after the appearance of Lord Shiva came consciousness and the deity presiding over consciousness. The moon appeared after the appearance of mind, and this indicates that the moon is the presiding deity of mind. Similarly, Lord Brahma appearing after intelligence is the presiding deity of intelligence. Lord Shiva appears after false ego is the presiding deity of false ego. In other words, it is indicated that the moon god is in the mode of goodness, whereas Lord Brahma is in the mode of passion, and Lord Shiva is in the mode of ignorance. The appearance of consciousness after the appearance of false ego indicates that from the beginning, material consciousness is under the mode of ignorance, and that one therefore has to purify himself by purifying his consciousness. This purificatory process is called Krishna consciousness. As soon as the consciousness is purified, the false ego disappears. So the process of bhakti purifies the consciousness. And as soon as the consciousness is purified, false ego disappears. Because material consciousness means false ego. Pure consciousness means servant of Krishna. So everything that we do actually in bhakti Actually, literally everything that we do in our life should be to purify our consciousness. Um, it is said that a devotee who wants to achieve perfection in this life, he goes on with his Nitya and Naimittika duties, like daily and occasional duties also, as service to the Lord. So I was thinking how this is done. So the key is considering the house as the temple of the Lord. So there's a altar in the temple, in the house, right? Whatever, be it photos or deity or whatever. The house is considered as a temple. So whatever the devotee is doing now in the house as a servant of the house or the servant of the temple is to maintain the temple. Maintaining a temple is not a material activity. So that way his work doesn't get any reactions. This is the mood for somebody who's working. If somebody works like this, then it is not karma. Then it becomes akarma. So which is why one has to consider the house as a temple of the Lord. Then everything we are doing inside the house should be in that pure consciousness or should be to purify the consciousness so that we can come to the actual standards. And if we live like this, then there's no question of sense gratification. And then every activity that we are doing purifies our consciousness. Because many times devotees think, okay, I'm working outside, what should I do? Yeah, I'm working outside, but for what? To earn money so that I can run the temple of Krishna, mm, mm, which is my house, right? So, and there's no question of sense gratification in a temple. Uh, so, if one develops this mood, whatever work he or she is doing can all become source of making progress. Because even when we are doing work, we should just think that okay, this is I'm doing this just to for running the temple of the house of or temple of Krishna. So then everything that we do will purify our consciousness, and because it's that mindset with which we have to work. And as soon as consciousness is purified, false ego disappears. Then we know that we are not working for my sense gratification. I'm working to run the temple. In fact, that's how it has to be. Mm. Identification of the body with the self is called false identification or false ego. Lord Chaitanya confirms this in his Sikshastaka. He states that the first result of chanting the Maha Mantra is that the dirt is cleared from the consciousness or a mirror of the mind. Mm. And then at once the blazing fire of material existence is over. So this dirt in the mind, this is false ego. So this false ego manifests as dirt is as contaminated consciousness, which is the mirror of the mind. So all of these are connected. Mind, false ego. That's why they're all very subtle. Mm. That's why here it is said dirt is cleared from the consciousness. Consciousness is what? Mirror of the mind. Mm. Then the blazing fire of material existence is over. So basically false ego, mind, consciousness, material consciousness, all of these are connected. So when we purify, when we do activities of bhakti, uh, consciousness becomes pure, which means false ego goes, which means that mind becomes pure. Then blazing fire of material existence is over. Blazing fire of material existence is due to false ego, but as soon as the false ego is removed, one can understand his real identity. At that point, is actually liberated from the clutches of Maya. So when does Maya give up hold on us? When we come to understand our real identity and stay in that real identity, giving up false ego, giving up desires for sense gratification, trying to please Krishna, that is the situation of real identity. And when we are situated that way, then Maya, we are free from the clutches of Maya. As soon as one is free from the clutches of false ego, his intelligence also becomes purified, and then his mind is always engaged upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Person of Godhead. So, the whole point here is that the mind, like we discussed yesterday, mind is a non-devotee. Mind prevents us from doing activities of bhakti. So somehow, if we can do activities of bhakti, then false ego is destroyed, or false ego is purified, or is false ego is removed, so it becomes real ego. Then intelligence is purified. Then mind also becomes purified and engages in the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So the mind should not come in the middle. This is the whole point, right? Um, if the mind comes in the middle, then we can't do bhakti. So mind should not become a uh, obstacle to bhakti. And that is why Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, beat the mind with chappal and broomstick. Because the mind should not become an obstacle. Only then mind can become a friend. Because mind will become purified, then it can think about the Supreme Lord all the time. So we have to engage in activities of bhakti, mm, with Tivrena. And to be able to do that, what is the obstacle is our mind. See, nobody else can actually prevent us from making progress. We ourselves can prevent. So mind is saying, oh, okay, body is down. Okay, let's not do bhakti. Okay, granted. Enjoy. Mind is a non-devotee. Non-devotee doesn't want to do bhakti. He'll just keep finding some reasons not to come to the temple, not to chant Hare Krishna, and the mind continues like that. Right. So this is the key. Actually, we should not succumb to the mind. So if you have some, one second, we have some sadhana bhakti, we have some responsibilities, we have some, you know, things that we are doing, we should just simply continue, irrespective of the mind. Mind will say 101 things. It will show you pity, it will do all kinds of things. We have to just ignore. We have to really learn this. Right? That is the reason there is need for surrendering to an authority. No, people have this big question saying that no, bhakti, chill maro, do whatever you want, however you want. But then the mind will never come under control. Mind will just relax, right? And since it's anyway by nature a non-devotee, don't forget this. This thing when I heard this, it's got stuck in my mind. Mind is a non-devotee. So mind is a non-devotee. Don't give it space. Don't respect it. Don't let it do what it wants. How will we do? We don't have the power. Mind is so powerful. Arjuna is saying, I can't control the mind. So who can control the mind? Authority. So authority is saying, do this, we have to do it. Authority is saying, get up at 4:30, we have to get up. Now, which is why we cannot do bhakti without authority. Somehow we don't seem to appreciate this point. Everybody wants to remain independent. We can't remain independent in bhakti. Then the mind will remain independent. Mind will remain independent means we cannot do bhakti. We will not stick to the activities of bhakti. So this is a very powerful, purport here, right? Which is connecting this, mind, intelligence, false ego. Mind is independent now, rascal, right? Intelligence is contaminated. False ego is there. So material consciousness. The only way to get out of this is through bhakti. Hmm. And the biggest obstacle for our bhakti is our mind. So what is the solution? Surrender to authority. If you don't have authority, then we are not going to make progress. Authority doesn't mean, yeah, yeah, very merciful. I can do anything I want. No, that's just speculation. And we are just speculating. Hmm. Actually, no spiritual authority will be uh, merciful to let us go down to hell or to fall down from our spiritual position. The mercy is actually to push us forward, to raise us to the transcendental platform, not to let us fall down to the material platform. So, in the name of mercy, we let ourselves, we fall. down to the material platform. That's not mercy, right? Somebody who does that is a cheater, isn't it? If somebody in the name of mercy lets us fall down from spiritual platform to material platform, he's a cheater. So why would any Vaishnava do this? No Vaishnava will do this. So it's just we are just speculating, saying that no, this is mercy. I can do whatever I want. No, I'm just cheating myself. That's all, simply. And who is this cheating? Who is doing this cheating business? The mind. So accept authority. Yeah, Chiranjeev Prabhu.
Prabhuji, there is a practicing devotee. So, what if the practicing devotee is under the influence of his past karmas and his, especially like astrology kind of influences on his bhakti
Everybody
progressing?
will have. Everybody will have. Till we become pure devotees, we are all under astrological influences. Till we come to the stage of Nishtha, we all have to suffer our karmic reactions. That is the reason why we have to hold on to authorities. Right? So there are so many obstacles, right? And all these obstacles, whether they are real or unreal, a mind is there. There is, I mean, if somebody is, somebody might think, okay, I'm very fortunate, I'm not having any major problems in life. No, you're unfortunate because you'll never realize that you're just losing time by not surrendering more and more to Krishna. So if somebody has problems in life, then they'll become more conscious. Oh my God, I mean, it's so difficult to do bhakti. Let me try. Let me try harder. So whatever it is, that's the whole point, right? Whether there is comfort, whether there is happiness, whether there's distress, whatever it is, we have to just strictly follow principles of bhakti because that is the only thing that can help. Please, we should understand this. We are somehow thinking bhakti as an optional. Bhakti is not optional. Our material responsibilities are optional. Bhakti is mandatory. Otherwise, we'll continue to be stuck here. What is the use? Very powerful, actually. Again, Krishna's mercy, some realization dawned. Right? So, authority is important. That's all I want to say. Because I see that many of us don't have authorities. We are like free, free birds. We are roaming around. We are loitering. We're not going to go to Goloka if we do this. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared on the full moon day as Gaurav Chandra, the spotless transcendental moon. The material moon has spots on it, but on transcendental moon Gaurav Chandra there are no spots. In order to fix the purified mind in the service of the Supreme Lord, one has to worship the spotless moon Gaurav Chandra. Prabhupada is giving one more, you know, secret. So if you are struggling with our bhakti, we should worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If we have to take shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he will give us mercy. Those who are materially passionate or those who want to exhibit their intelligence for material advancement in life are generally worshippers of Lord Brahma. And persons who are in the gross ignorance of identifying with the body worship Lord Shiva. Materialists like Hiranyakashipu and Ravana are worshippers of Brahma or Shiva. But Prahlada and other devotees in the service of Krishna consciousness worship the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead. Anyway, the key is about this mind, and we don't have the strength to override the mind right now. So the strength comes from following authorities. If we don't, if we can't follow authorities, then we are really unfortunate. We have to somehow figure out. We have to somehow figure out. Meaning some person is saying, or do this, and we are not able to do, right? Which means that we have to really, I mean, beg for mercy because that's the only way out. That's the only way out, right? Which is why the whole process of this Diksha and Diksha. Shiksha Guru is considered as good as Diksha Guru. Shiksha Guru is the one who actually enables bhajana, just making progress, day-to-day progress. Ideally, the Diksha Guru should be Shiksha Guru, but practically it is not possible many times. So Vani of Diksha Guru and possibly some other exalted devotee acting as Shiksha Guru. And then we surrender to them. Surrender means Atma Nivedanam. Right? Just simply, okay, I don't have any freedom. Whatever this person is going to say, I'm going to just follow. Come what may. Only if you are able to do that will the mind come under control. Right? Or even whether the mind will come under control or not, we can ignore the mind, we will engage in bhakti, and eventually the mind will come under control. So please don't neglect this. Yeah, Vamshi Prabhu.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Here, what does it mean by blazing fire of material existence?
Sufferings in this material world. I mean, material world is always, it's like a fire. Can we just sit peacefully in this fire? Mind is like racing, from one thing to another. Sort this out. Look at this problem. This person requires attention. That needs to be done. So many things. How can we focus on Krishna? It's a blazing fire. Nobody can live in that fire, right? We want to get away from the fire. We want to go to a peaceful situation. But material life is like that, like a blazing fire.
Okay, Prabhu, understood.
एतयद्युत्थिता देवा नैवास्योत्थापने शकन् पुनराविविशुः कानि तम् उत्थापयितुं क्रमात्. When the demigods and presiding deities of the various senses were thus manifested, they wanted to wake their origin of appearance. Wake. But upon failing to do so, they re-entered the body of the Virat Purusha one after the other in order to wake him. So Virat Purusha is sleeping. In order to wake the sleeping deity controller within, one has to rechannel the sense activities from concentration on the outside to concentration inside. The following verses, sense activities which are required to wake the Virat Purusha will be explained. Okay. Now you can just quickly finish this. I'm going to just read the translations. The god of fire entered his mouth with the organ of speech, but the Virat Purusha could not be roused. Then the god of wind entered his nostrils with the sense of smell, but still the Virat Purusha refused to be awakened. Sun god entered the eyes of the Virat Purusha with the sense of sight, but still the Virat Purusha did not get up. Similarly, predominating deities of the directions entered through his ears with the sense of hearing, but still he did not get up. Then the predominating deities of skin, herbs, and seasoning plants entered the skin, but the cosmic being refused to get up. God predominating over water entered his organ of generation with the faculty of procreation, and still he would not rise. The god of death entered his anus with the organ of defecation, but the Virat Purusha could not be spurred to activity. Indra entered the hands with their power of grasping and dropping things. Virat Purusha would not get up. So all the created demigods and their different parts. Lord Vishnu entered his feet with the faculty of locomotion, but the Virat Purusha refused to stand up. Rivers entered his blood vessels with the blood and the power of circulation, till the cosmic being could not be made to stir. So all of these things have been created so far along with their deities. Ocean entered his abdomen with hunger and thirst. If there's hunger and thirst, anybody will get up. But cosmic being refused to raise even then. Moon god entered his heart with the mind, but the cosmic being would not be roused. Brahma also entered his heart with intelligence, but even then the cosmic being could not be prevailed upon to get up. Rudra entered his heart, even then the cosmic being did not stir. However, when the inner controller, the deity presiding over consciousness, entered the heart with reason, at that very moment the cosmic being arose from the causal waters. So it's this consciousness which is the symptom of life. Right? We know that consciousness means there's Atma. Without the Atma, the body is dead. So then the cosmic being arose. When a man is sleeping, all his material assets, namely the vital energy, senses for acquiring knowledge, senses for working, mind, intelligence, cannot arouse him. See, he can be aroused only when the super soul helps him. So how do we think? How are we getting up? We say alarm. But how can we hear that there is alarm? That also is super soul. That is why even without an alarm, people can get up because that's the same super soul. The explanation of Sankhya philosophy is described here in detail with the sense of the that the Virat Purusha is the original source of all various sense organs and their presiding deities. Relationship between the Virat Purusha and the presiding deities or the living entities is so intricate that simply by exercising the sense organs which are related to their presiding deities, Virat Purusha cannot be aroused. Only by devotional service and detachment can one perform the process of linking with absolute. Anyway, so the point here is that the super soul actually helps us, when we are waking up, just like the Virat Purusha woke up when consciousness entered. Therefore, through devotion, detachment, and advancement in spiritual knowledge, acquired through concentrated devotional service, one should contemplate that super soul as present in his very body through although simultaneously apart from it. So the conclusion of this whole creation, or not conclusion, but Virat Purusha appeared, Kapil Muni is saying, so one should contemplate that super soul through concentrated devotional service. Concentrated, not deviated, not diluted. Through devotion, detachment, and advancement in spiritual knowledge. So one should have devotion. That's not enough. Many devotees say, I have devotion, but they don't have detachment and they don't have knowledge. All the three are required. Naturally, when there is devotion, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janati Ashu Vairagyam Gnanam. So when there is devotion, real devotion, if there is real devotion, then there will be detachment and advancement in spiritual knowledge. And how do we get this? Through concentrated devotional service. Tivra Bhakti. Kevala Bhakti. Shuddha Bhakti. What should one do? One should contemplate the super soul. Of course, for us, contemplating on Krishna is contemplating on the super soul. One can realize the super soul within oneself. He is within one's body, but apart from the body or transcendental to the body. Although sitting in the same body as the individual soul, super soul has no affection for the body, whereas the individual soul does. Individual soul has affection for the body. That's why he's suffering. Therefore, one has to detach himself from this material body. How? By discharging devotional service. So whatever obstacles come preventing us from from discharging devotional service, how to be overcome? On one end, we chant Narsimha mantra, say Bhakti Vigna Vinashak Narsimdev, and then on the other end, we encourage our mind to become an obstacle in our bhakti. We let our mind, we can't say encourage, but we let our mind become an obstacle. It is clearly mentioned here, Bhaktya, that one has to execute devotional service to the Supreme, as it is stated in the first canto, second chapter, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha. When Vasudeva, the all-pervading Vishnu, is served in completely pure devotion, no tinge of mixed devotion, detachment from the world immediately begins. See, when one engages in pure devotional service, detachment has to automatically happen. There's no separate endeavor required. The purpose of Sankhya is to detach oneself from material contamination. This can be achieved automatically simply by devotional service. We don't have to do separate endeavor. If we are not developing detachment, that means that we are not practicing pure devotion. When one is detached from the attraction of material prosperity, one can actually concentrate his mind upon the super soul. See, this is very, very important. Like yesterday, we were again two things. Yesterday discussion, I was thinking one thing that comes into our mind when we are chanting are worries, concerns. The other things are attachments. I didn't talk about the attachments that uh, things that come to our mind because of attachment. Right? So either because of attachment to this material world or because of worries. Attachment meaning wanting to enjoy sense gratification. Right? The other is wanting to be away from misery. One is icha, like one is desire to enjoy, the other is aversion from suffering. Raga dvesha, right? One is there is raga, there is attachment to material things for enjoyment. Dvesha, then there is we don't want material suffering. Now, till these two things exist in our mind cannot focus on Krishna, right? So, for that suffering, we have to have trust in Krishna. For the attachment, we have to just understand that the attachment to Krishna and the happiness thereafter is much more superior. And somehow we have to engage sincerely in devotional service. So, one more tip is because many of us are struggling with chanting, and chanting is the most powerful way for us to actually make progress. What we should do is we should engage in Shravanam. We can also engage in other activities of bhakti with um, full concentration, meaning completely involved with the right consciousness as servants of Krishna. One another option to purify our mind is chanting verses. So again, I got uh, one recommendation from a senior devotee who was saying that every day one chapter of Bhagavad Gita verses have to be read. Just by reading verses, one chapter a day, over a period of time, mind becomes purified. So somehow or the other, we have to prevent our mind from becoming an obstacle in bhakti, right? That is important. Then we can concentrate mind on the super soul. As long as the mind is distracted towards the material, there's no possibility of concentrating one's mind and intelligence upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, one cannot concentrate one's mind and energy upon Supreme unless one is detached from the material world. Very simple. Following detachment from material world, one can actually attain transcendental knowledge of the absolute truth. As long as one is entangled in sense enjoyment, it is not possible to understand the absolute truth. As long as one is entangled in sense enjoyment, and one cannot chant Hare Krishna without distraction. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 18.54. One who is free from material contamination is joyful. Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kangshati. Tamas sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param, and can enter into devotional service. And by devotional service, he can be liberated. The Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, it is stated that one becomes joyful by discharging devotional service. Now, this joyful is not material joy, right? The material joy, we have a semblance of this happiness. But when there are material miseries, that happiness goes off. But that's not the characteristic of pure devotion. Pure devotion is Sandrananda Visheshatma, concentrated bliss. The concentrated bliss means the suffering of this material world doesn't even come, we don't even notice. In that joyful attitude, one can understand the science of God. Otherwise, it's not possible. Sankhya Yoga. So this analytical study of the elements and concentration of the mind upon the super soul are the sum substance of Sankhya. So Prabhupada is saying that the Sankhya that Kapila Muni is talking about has two parts. One is analytical study of material nature to understand that we are separate from this. And then once we realize that all of this we are separate from this, what should we do? We should concentrate mind on the super soul. This is Sankhya. But the perfection of Sankhya culminates in devotional service. So we are also fortunate that we are at the culmination point of devotional service. But for that, we have to have detachment and the trouble with the mind. So the solution for all this is to simply accept authorities and follow whatever they are saying. Okay, so I'll stop here. Any questions, comments? Okay, I think it's pretty clear. I think discuss. Okay, we'll close here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Chila Prabhupada ki jai. Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha pradhanam pavanebhyo Vaishnava namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samaveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanvat
Hare
pranam. Hare
Krishna.
Krishna to everybody. Dhanvat
Hare
pranam.
Krishna. And
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.